It's another one of these podcasty things. Co-pilots, that's called it.
Okay, so what do they call it now?
Couple of cunts talk about telly.
Yeah, it's a better title, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot less marketable. But arguably with our reach, doesn't matter.
We're going to get into it, but this features one of my favourite TV shows, like, ever.
I didn't know we were doing Gilmore Girls this week.
Well, it's only recently entered into my list of top TVs.
Shit's Creek.
It's because it came out last year. So...
Whatever happened to, what was it, Love? That show that you really wanted me to watch, and then...
Oh, man, it was really good. And then they did a Series 3, and I just didn't watch it. I'd need to watch the whole thing again, actually. But Love is really good. It's a really nice show.
It's genuinely been years since I heard you mention that show.
That was, 2017 I really got into that show?
Whenever we did it on the podcast, which was... I'm going to just...
Was it 2018 did we do it?
It's not on season 2. We might have done it in season 1.
Nah, did we?
It might be season 3.
Well, while you keep looking for it...
Yeah, you run down the socials and I'll find it.
Yeah. I'll definitely do that just now. copilotspodcast.co.uk. That's our site, where you can email Rich and tell him he's a prick, like I did last week. You can get in touch with us on Twitter @RealCopilots and on Instagram. Also, we are The Real Copilots Podcast. Have you found when we discussed
November 2017?
Love. There you go. Bob on.
Yeah, episode 16 of season 2. But that was the year we watched Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, it was never going to win, was it?
Yeah.
It was never going to.
I don't remember much else we watched that year.
American Gods.
I mean, there's some good shit in there as well. Like that is a solid year. Orphan Black,
Hannibal,
Taboo.
we did. Black Mirror, that's a hell of a show. Designated Survivor, that was good fun.
Yeah, I finished season 1 of that.
I didn't. I actually will at some point go down the list of shows we've done and make a list of shows that I have actually watched. And it will be fucking short.
Well, to be fair, I started Taboo when we recorded that in 2017. Do you want to know when I finished it?
This morning?
Earlier this year.
Yeah.
It took me...
But when it came to Netflix?
That did help. No, I watched it on BBC iPlayer.
Oh, wow.
Because it kept... You know when iPlayer has like a little continue watching thing? And it sat there for like the best part of 4 years. Just being like, oh, go on, you've got an episode. Yeah, speaking of episodes,
get this one in your lugholes. That was spot on.
Nailed it.
This includes one of my favourite TV shows of all time.
I didn't know you felt so strongly about The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yeah. So did we previously do Haunting of Hill House? We have.
We have, and I've watched the entire thing.
Yeah. And you liked it?
I did.
Okay. So then the follow-up was Mike Flanagan then went on to do The Haunting of Bly Manor, then Midnight Mass. I think there's a couple of things in between them as well. Oh, maybe not, but like at the same time. So Midnight Mass was last year, Bly Manor was the year before. That's right, he did Doctor Sleep in between Hill House and Bly Manor.
I liked Doctor Sleep.
I liked it. I thought it was a bit too long, but I did like it. But basically, generally speaking, I don't really think he does too much wrong, Mike Flanagan. So, which of these two do you want to start with?
Why, I suppose seeing as Midnight Mass is your favourite, we should do that last so that you stay.
Can you imagine that? I was like, nah, I'm just going to go now. Do as you fucking self.
It'd be a lot less interesting.
I would argue it would be better. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Haunting of Bly Manor, after Hill House did so well, Mike Flanagan then adapts another classic ghost story, as is based on The Turn of the Screw by Henry James, who was a very, very prolific writer. I think he generally did... I mean, I'm sort of guessing, but I think he did quite a few ghosty thingies. Here we go. He was particularly interested in what he called The Beautiful and Blessed Nouvelle. Don't know what that means, though, so that's good.
Yeah, I didn't think this was a foreign requirement for foreign knowledge. Languages, that's what they're called. Languages.
Bloody hell.
Oh.
Has it been a long day?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been longer. But... No, I wasn't sure if I enjoyed Bly Manor as much as I did Hill House.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say Hill House is better. Bly Manor, I don't think it's as scary, for sure.
No, well, I suppose they're all locked in with a serial killer, so... I don't know if it's that because Hill House came out before season 2, didn't it?
I'm not actually sure. I think You came out in between Hill House and Bly Manor. You're talking about Pedretti.
Yeah, because I think I get it's when you see someone in a role that you recognise them for so clearly that as soon as she came on screen, I was like, "It's love."
Here we go. Yeah, Haunting of Hill House, then You, then Haunting of Bly Manor.
So it's probably it's my fault. But I couldn't sort of set that aside and just be like, why are you scared? You'll just kill everyone.
I actually, like, in my head she's Nell from Hill House before she's anything else.
I think it's because I'd seen her in You before I'd seen Hill House.
Yeah. And I guess she's in series 3 of You as well, isn't she? Which really wasn't very good.
Yeah, it's fine. Series 4's coming soon. Well, they're filming it now.
Great. I can't wait for more of that show. I've gone off that show. The first series was alright, and then it just got old very quickly.
I don't know. I think it's a very good sequel to Gossip Girl.
Is it him?
Weird stalking goes too far.
Is it him? Does he play Gossip Girl?
Yeah.
Oh, sick. No, I mean, I knew it was that character. I guess I couldn't remember it was him. So, I think I'm not sure it comes across too badly in the pilot episode, but there's a lot of American actors playing English characters in this, and the accents are a little bit dodgy, particularly Henry Wingrave, their uncle. His English accent is not great. And then there's Oliver Jackson Cohen, who was Luke in Hill House. He does a Scottish accent. Like I don't think you've met him.
No, I don't think so.
But he affects a Scottish accent, and that's like also not the best.
I guess what is I'm guessing it's an ensemble cast more than them hiring people to play the right roles.
Yeah, I think he definitely has his regulars, which
I noticed that looking at the. Like, I didn't notice it, but I looked at the cast list. I was like, hang on a minute. Where do these names match up between these two shows?
There's actually thinking about it. From Bly Manor to Midnight Mass, there's not many. But across the whole Hill House and this and Midnight Mass, there is quite a few people who, he carries on hiring. Particularly Katie Siegel, because that's his wife. So, although apparently he did say he did get her to audition, and it their relationship doesn't affect that she got the role, but
yeah, I'm sure it doesn't. He just hate to be in the doghouse at
home. Okay, so Victoria Pedret, she's Danny. She is hired as an au pair for a wealthy family to look after some kids who've had a traumatic thing happen to them in their past, and they live at Bly Manor, and there's spooky shit that starts happening.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like The Haunting of Hill House.
It does, but it's not as scary, I don't think. How many times before you got annoyed did you hear the words "perfectly splendid"?
I think it started to annoy me, and then I noticed there was she was talking about like either a bit of the house or one of the staff, and she didn't say it, and I was like, that means something.
I don't know what, but it means something.
Yeah. And I think I then sort of got the the idea that the language, it always matters, but that specific phrase matters a lot for that character, I imagine, throughout the whole show.
I mean, there were a lot of memes going around, based on the kid just constantly saying "perfectly splendid." Here's the thing: I can't actually remember what the significance of that phrase is, and I can't actually remember. There's quite a lot that I've realised I've forgotten about this one, because it just doesn't occupy the same space in my head that Hill House and Midnight Mass have done, where I've thought about them a lot, having watched them.
I think I have the sort of issue that I somehow I very much associate playing the board game Haunting. What's it called?
The Trail at House on the Hill?
That's the one. I very much in my head associate that with Haunting of Hill House, because that's the exterior that I imagine. But there's something about I guess that the whole of Haunting of Hill House feels very dark and ominous. But you spend the first half of this first episode in daylight, and you spend the first 10-15 minutes just in London.
Yeah. In a pub.
Yeah, so it doesn't feel overly
spooky.
Yeah, there's no. It doesn't feel oppressive and claustrophobic.
I think you're right. I think the relationship with the house is slightly different. I think the Cranes have been through a lot more stuff to do with ghosts than the Wingraves. The Wingraves have they've lost people, but it doesn't seem like the ghosts are that threatening immediately. Yeah. Whereas in Hill House, you're like, oh, shit's going down straight away. And then they keep referring to, the night we had to leave and the night that it all happened and stuff.
Yeah. Whereas I think in this, it almost feels like Danny's bringing the ghosts with her.
That's an interesting idea.
Because she starts off, you see Michael Jackson's main inspiration. You see the man in the mirror.
Oh dear.
and you see him before she's even at the manor. So it's like, oh well, if all the kids die, it's kind of on her. Like it's probably not true, but so I get it feels like she's got a bit of a past that they'll explore, but it doesn't feel like there's as much. Cause I couldn't really give a shit about any of the characters yet.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Hill House definitely, and I know we keep referring back to what Hill House was, but when you think about how, and I think we'll come to this in Midnight Mass, like I immediately cared about the characters in Midnight Mass. In this, I just didn't. Apart from actually saying that, apart from Hannah and Owen, I loved them instantly just because they were nice, you know.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to follow on while being set. It's like, I imagine it must have taken them a long time to be brave enough to do American Horror Story Season 2. Or to think, either they went in with the plan to do it and knew what they were going to do next. But the second one, I imagine, is always going to be harder than the third.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Did you spot any hidden ghosts in Bly Manor?
Not any well-hidden ghosts.
No, this is the other thing, is that it almost feels like a joke, because it's like the hidden ghosts in Hill House were like an amazing thing to just hear, like, oh, they're everywhere, they're all over the place in that show, and then once you start spotting them, you can't stop looking for them. And then in Bly Manor, it's like immediately you've got a fucking plague doctor just standing next to what's going on. You're like, but you can so obviously see it.
Yeah, and it's just I think there's even a point that there's a shot of Danny walking towards the camera, and the plague doctor's just fully silhouetted.
Yeah,
it's just
there's two of those actually.
Yeah,
because there's one where the plague doctor's beak is like in the foreground, and it's only when it moves that you realise what you're looking at. And then she comes out of a room later on and he's just stood there like, oh fuck, better stay still, seen me. There's another very obvious one as they're going up the stairs. Do you remember? It's like a crane shot looking down at the stairwell. And then on the right, the plague doctor's just there, just like, alright?
Yeah, I think it's... I mean, a plague doctor is a good base for a ghost.
Yeah. And the show does go back into some of the history of Bly Manor, like way later in the series. There is a story which happens like quite far in the past, and it's quite an expositional episode because it explains a lot of what's been happening.
Yeah, the thing, it sounds really like I'm being down on this. I still think I would enjoy it. Yeah,
it's still better than a lot of stuff on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, it's no Fear Street, but like,
I would watch this over Fear Street definitely. Well, the first one was good.
To be fair, Fear Street's less of a commitment.
That's true. So, would you watch this again? Well, sorry, not again, but would you? Carry on watching this one?
I think. Not based on this pilot, but based on
the prestige of of Mike Flanagan's previous stuff,
which feels kind of wrong. This is why we don't often do have a look at season 2, because it feels very wrong to base my thoughts on this on what has already been done, but.
I mean, it is a completely separate story, but it definitely does feel like it's of a piece. Like I think the Fall of the House of Usher, which is what Mike Flanagan is shooting right now, I think that's going to be the third movement of haunted house things. Because Midnight Mass, while it's Mike Flanagan, it's the same cast, and there's definitely a feeling to it. It's
entirely
I don't
separate.
think it's not in the same sequence of The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor. And do you know what I genuinely would really love to see him do next, and I don't know how he would do it, would be to do The Haunting of Eel Marsh House, because that's the one from Woman in Black, and I would love to see him do that story.
Do you know what would be cool? To see his take on Amityville Horror as well.
Yeah, that would be that, because that's another sort of modern one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a really, it could be really interesting, because you can, if you don't fix on having a continuous story that's all set in the same time period, you could have the, I can't remember if there were multiple crimes that happen there, if it's just one and just everyone else feels a bit weird about it, the house. But you can have like those, like a series of things happening there.
Yeah.
Almost like a WandaVision style thing, where you jump from time period,
like
to
an anthology.
Yeah.
Like where you have the same house but different
characters or different casts almost.
I would quite like that, actually. It does make me wonder for Fall of the House of Usher. I don't know like what sort of period they're going to be going for. Like, are they going to do it, you know, proper of the time of Poe was writing, or are they going to do sort of a modern update like the Shirley Jackson for Hill House? But I can't wait for that show anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're quite good at attracting the attention of horror directors on your old Instagram. See if you can get onto it about doing Amityville Horror.
Yeah. Mike? Yeah. No, you don't know me.
You don't know me, but
Neil.
we were doing
Neil
a podcast, we just had a quick chat about your next project.
That reminds me of a thing that I heard Ricky Gervais say, like, about comments on the internet and stuff, and he's like, yeah, because I really enjoy seeing comments on YouTube videos where telling Martin Scorsese where he went wrong with Goodfellas. But yeah, I do like Bly Manor because it's still, you know, spooky shit. It's a bunch of people I like, including Raoul Coley, who I think is my favourite human being at the moment. Who also shows up in Midnight Mass.
He does indeed.
Okay. Have you read up anything about Midnight Mass? Do you know anything about it at all other than what's happened so far in the pilot?
No.
Good.
Because what I did was I watched the pilot and I liked it.
And then you watched the whole thing?
No. Because I started watching it yesterday about 8:30 and was like, I won't fit in Bly Manor if I don't stop.
Okay, so you've only seen the pilot so far?
I've only seen book 1, yes.
Okay, good. Because I need to... if you've got... I've just...
You're just trying to contain yourself.
Just a bit of admin. If you've got the Wikipedia page up for Midnight Mass or whatever, just get rid of it. Because there is a reveal coming up which is when the show shows its hand as to what kind of story it is, and I think the less you know, the better.
I've got the page for book 1 Genesis open and nothing else.
Okay, cool. That's fine. So, it's going to be very, very difficult to talk around this because, well, to be fair, if we take our podcast by the premise in which we agreed on and only talk about the pilot, it should be fine. But okay, Midnight Mass is the best thing that I watched last year, and I've just rewatched the entire thing, and I still stand by it, and it's one of my favourite TV shows that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So it begins with a chap called Riley who is involved in a drunk driving accident. He was a drunk driver and he kills a lady. So he serves his prison sentence, and then after 4 years he goes back to his home, which is Crockett Island, it's extremely Stephen King, small town America. And as we all know from Stephen King, if there's one thing about small town America, is
aliens.
That it's evil. Oh yeah, and there's aliens. Okay, so go on. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I might be wrong, but I think the theme here is that.
Also, if you like posit any sort of theories or anything, I'm not necessarily going to react.
Okay, I mean, this one I think might be wrong.
Okay.
If it's right, I will probably not enjoy the show. But I get the.
Okay.
There's a small, just one scene between two characters, and I think they're going to blame the Muslims.
I mean, I can't tell you just how right you are in some ways.
Well, it's small town America.
I mean, Rahul Kohli has been really praised for his for the representation of the Islamic faith that his character gives off, and there is a scene. It's quite near to the end of the show, like it's sort of nearing. It's certainly in the second half where he basically, what you will realise if you do carry on watching it is this is a show all about monologues, and he has a monologue where he describes the reasons that he joined the police force and then the subsequent reasons why he moved to Crockett Island, and it is fucking astonishing. Proper like make you sit up and go, fuck me, that's insane. So yeah, there was there was a couple of visual clues which helped me sort of deduce what I thought was going to happen, or like what I thought the show was really about, from episode 1, and I was like, there is no way it can be this, because it just feels so wrong. And then I turned out to be right, and I was saying about this show last year that it feels like, because I've shared sort of similar ideas in my head as to what the Christian faith is sort of about, and a couple of the things that don't necessarily line up in my head about it, and it feels like Mike Flanagan just sort of reached into my head and just was like, yeah, let's take this to its logical conclusion, and then made the show that I wanted to see out of those ideas, and I cannot believe it exists, and I'm so happy that it does.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm guessing there's I guess hints that there's some ultra Christians. I mean, they're all Catholics, and they seem to not be super keen that there's people who aren't over Catholic in their midst.
It is only a small number. Like, particularly Bev is, like, I think the key perpetrator of Islamophobia for sure, and she does demonstrate that in
episode 1
and all throughout the show. But yeah, okay, so what I need to try and I'm just gonna find the
but I mean, I get there's a definite vibe that your new priest on the island is not really a churchman, or is so far a churchman that he's going to be evil.
There's a sort of a mistrust, isn't there? Or almost like you're suspicious of.
The thing he is the perfect red herring.
Father Paul, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think he would be like the best red herring you could put in, because he's new, very religious, seems a bit clueless about like what colour robes he should be wearing. Like, I mean, if Bev had her way, they'd be pillowcases with holes cut out of them, but and and also there's the trunk thing. Like, he brought a trunk that looks like it just has dirt and something that can bang back if you tap on the outside. Like, it seems very much like he's going to be the baddie or the fall guy.
What's amazing is you've cracked it, Rich, and in that trunk he has got Mad Eye Moody down a big pit.
Well, I mean, obviously, Brendan Gleeson isn't doing much after Mr. Mercedes finished.
Yeah, I've not seen him in stuff actually. He did a film with his sons, a little while ago. I can't remember what it was called, but yeah, I haven't seen him in a lot.
I mean, if you say son singular, that's Harry Potter. But yeah, like I think it's always quite interesting to see like an isolated community and what they do when times get tough.
Yeah.
Also, the other big thing I took from this was stoners kill cats.
Yeah. There is that incredible shot, isn't there, where like they're sat around and at the beach and they've got a fire going. There's like bushes around them. You can see all the cat's eyes in them, and then one of the cat's eyes just sort of stands up to human height. That was fucking brilliant. So cool.
Yeah, and then there's the thing that they think is the old priest running down the beach.
Oh, the old Monsignor.
Or doesn't. Like, it's very windy. And then there's all the cats on the beach at the end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the bit that when I do eventually tell my dad that he's got to watch this show, that's the bit I'm going to tell him about first, is that episode 1 ends with hundreds of dead cats. And he'll be like, I am fucking sold.
Well, that seems an important point of the wiki page. Drained of blood, which wasn't very obvious from the actual episode, but
from the episode, yeah. I guess that sort of is the first thing you learn in episode 2. Is that the first part of episode 2 is that the sheriff goes down and they're just sort of looking around trying to work out what happened. Also, how lovely is Riley's mum? Riley's mum's well nice.
Yeah, arguably too nice. Like, there was a point that I was like, I know that there's going to be a lot of dead cats because they mentioned how many stray cats are, and it's like, well, if you've got a serial anything, it's going to kill all the cats first. And then it's going to kill his mum. Because nice ladies get killed first.
I was having a chat with someone about that the other day, saying how nice people die and then horrible cunts fucking hang around for ages. But
yep. Well, I think this podcast is going to go on forever.
Okay, well, now that you've watched episode 1, you need to carry on watching it.
I do. In fact, this podcast is actually quite inconvenient because I could be watching it now.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Expect to see this on the spreadsheet before too long. How much of it is there? 2 seasons yet, or just the one?
No. It's 8 episodes.
Oh, brilliant!
Oh, sorry, 7 episodes.
Oh, even better. Although 7 I find is a weird number because I'm always left like, there should be 8.
You won't after this one.
Oh, okay.
It's got a very, very satisfying ending, and you won't want it.
Is it like an end, not like a there will be more end?
I mean, you never know, do you, with anything? But as it ends, I would be like, it would be a mistake to do another one, for sure.
Yeah, well, that's exactly how I felt at the end of Frequency.
Yeah. It's our favourite phrase. It's a limited series, so
yeah.
I don't
seen
think
there are some limited
series
coming that I like the look of.
Okay, well, I mean, in the same way that I did that sort of each episode report of how far through Gilmore Girls we got, I need to know when you carry on watching Midnight Mass. So by next week, I am very much looking forward to hearing how you finished Midnight Mass, because it's only 7.
Yes.
You only have 6 episodes left.
Yes. I could do that tomorrow.
Oh my god.
It'll be a late night, but I could do it tomorrow.
Like, the thing is, I think it would lend itself to watching it all in one go, because it's quite an intense but quite short story.
Yeah, I did get the impression from episode 1 that it's very... I don't know, I'm assuming it all released en masse.
Yeah.
You're welcome for the...
Thank you. I enjoyed that one.
Because it definitely... Netflix do binge watchable content quite well for a company that only really care about new subscriptions. They do stay on our system for a long time quite well.
Mm.
Whereas Disney Plus do lend themselves to a... you can watch it weekly, because fuck you, we want to keep your subscription.
I'm just gonna very quickly tell you this thing, right? So, have you seen the film Hush about the deaf author?
No, it's one of those ones that I kept meaning to watch but never actually got round to.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's the one where they sneak into his house and he murders them all, right?
No, that's Don't Breathe. It came out at a similar time, actually. It might have even been the same year.
Oh, because in my head they had the same trailer as well, and cast, and actor, and name.
So in Hush, which was Mike Flanagan's film from 2016, Katie Siegel's in it. Don't know how she got that job. She is an author, and there is a scene right at the start where a fan is talking to her, and she says, "Oh, I loved your last book, Midnight Mass." And she goes on to say, "I really loved Riley and Erin." And then in Gerald's Game, which I watched again the other day, there is a part where Jessie, who is the character chained to the bed, she reaches up to the shelf and she throws a book
at a
dog. It's called Midnight Mass. The mirror from Oculus, which is another Mike Flanagan thing, appears in Midnight Mass. So Midnight Mass is like this connecting tissue to all of his other work.
Oh, so he's setting up his own like cinematic universe.
Not quite. I think it's more just like reference, like Easter eggs, rather than like a connective tissue. Rather than a direct like, these exist in the same space.
But how will I get my MFU? My Mike Flanagan universe.
Oh, Mike Flanagan is also in Midnight Mass, very, very briefly.
Is he a cat?
Yeah, he's a cat.
Because they seem to have like the easiest job.
What, of dying?
Yeah. Just, we need you for episode 1. There's no need to... Don't turn up on day 2.
But yeah, basically, Midnight Mass is one of the best TV shows I've ever seen, and I love it, and it's so fucking good, and you need to carry on watching it.
I will. I'm going to carry on watching both of these.
Do Midnight Mass first, please.
Yeah. There is more of a question of how long it will take me to finish Bly Manor. But Midnight Mass, it'll be done by the next time we record.
Good. It's so good. I love it. What's the next one we're doing?
We're doing a UK versus US, because it's been a while.
Hey, we haven't done one this year yet, have we?
No, this is the only one on the card so far for the year.
Okay, so this is continuing your smear campaign of foreign TV shows. You're going, definitely having a Brexit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take the classic that we have already done, but not in the UK versus US context of Broadchurch.
I was going to say, I remember doing Broadchurch.
And I remember really enjoying it. And I am looking forward to seeing how shit Grace Point is. which is
so Grace Point is basically the US remake of Broadchurch.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is
okay.
correct. And I am expecting, as is always the case, a word-for-word remake with some Americanisms. So instead of a murder on a beach, murder in a school.
I mean, they have plenty of those. It's not going to be as good though, is it? Because Jodie Whittaker, Olivia Colman, David Tennant, basically every good British actor there's been. Yeah,
well, I mean, you can pretty much point at them and go, "You were in Doctor Who," and they all turn around.
That's true.
Well, so at the time, Broadchurch had a Doctor in it, but if you went back and watched it now, in the first episode there are three people who played the Doctor. Admittedly, one of them he did play officially the Doctor in one of the Christmas specials. Yeah, that's cool. And Grace Point's going to have none. So
call it Doctor Who.
Yeah, and Grace Point will be Doctor No.
I like it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that one.
I'm
nice one.
Weirdly looking forward to watching the first episode of Broadchurch again.
I remember it quite vividly. I feel like I've watched it quite recently.
I feel like I remember it, but I feel like I'm going to get to go back and watch it having seen the solve and want to see how early I can remember what happened. Be like,
yeah. I can still remember which, who is the guilty party.
Yeah, so can I.
I think they are in episode 1.
Yeah, so definitely. So it'll be interesting to see, knowing who did it.
The American alternative.
Yeah, and seeing how blindingly obvious it is.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Me
and also,
too.
I like cracking out the UK versus US thumbnail for the Instagram.
You just love seeing that flag, didn't you?
What, the British one?
Obviously.